about to listen to a video with David Goggins and Joe Rogan on why talent is a curse.
This is going beyond your talent. When there's no more talent, what happens to you? Most people quit. People only go to their talent level. And once their talent level is gone, the whole mental game sets in then. And most people can only perform to their talent. And they realize, man, why am I always messing up right here? Why is this my big hurdle? It's because you're performing to your talent. And then after that, your mind has nothing for you. I see fighters, I see runners, I see people who they're great, but they get to the edge of their talent. It's like, man, what's up? Because you're now at the point now where your talent ain't gonna do for you, my friend.
David Goggins, he does like these ultra races of like 50 miles. I think he's done like a 24-hour race where you just run for 24 hours straight.
He's run like 100
Navy
miles.
SEAL guy. And he started he used to be obese and stuff, so he's got a pretty cool overcomer story. So I love listening to him. He's like the most strong-minded person I've almost ever listened to. What they're talking about, like talent is a curse, right? Because you learn to rely on your talent, right? You get in this laziness mindset where if you're the best, you stop trying your best. You limit yourself. And we usually do that. We're looking around and, if we're better than other people, we kind of just float, we just kind of stick around there and stay the same. And if you do that, you're just going to like see a lot of goals and dreams kind of maybe slip through your fingers because you've got choices, every day, and how you choose to spend your time, you never get it back, right? And I think that's what people don't realize when they're young and they're in college or they're in high school or they're just graduating, trying to get started in life. They'll spend a lot of time on things that maybe aren't the most valuable things for them because they're really talented, but then they're just, I can just coast, so I'm not gonna really improve this area. I'm just gonna, be on social media all the time and get sucked in, to hours and hours.
Kind of hitting that limit of talent. Like, talent only gets you so far. Some people more than others, but like, only gets you so far, and it's up to you. Kind of like Goggins said, it's like a mental game. It's up to you, kind of how much you want to push it after that, and then that's kind of what defines great people, I think, is, it's kind of like pushing themselves past what they're just naturally good for.
Most people are really talented at something, and the reason that maybe 88% of all the talented people in the world, right, are unhappy with their jobs is they usually gave up somewhere on it, right? How many people do you know that had a dream of doing this or that, and now they've settled for something? They settled for mediocrity, right? They're just doing something because it's safe, right? And I think there's a huge amount of fear involved with being safe, and I think there's a pushback too. If you're really good at something, there's a certain part of the population who really tries to tear you down because they feel bad, right, themselves, that you're better at things than them, and so they're like, oh, that's stupid, and they find reasons to like shoot you down. And then there's also people who obviously encourage you like crazy, but sometimes you're only surrounded with like one group, and there's times where there's people who are praising you, but you can just be the same, but they're always praising you. And then there's a group that always, obviously, if you're trying to get better, they're tearing you down. And it's a real mindset struggle, right? And that's what we talk about a lot, is that it really has everything to do with your mindset, rather than what you're kind of born with. Because you can be born with talent, but if you're not fostering it, if you're not growing it, someone's going to surpass you with maybe less talent, just working hard, right? And I like what Goggins really said about, like, once you hit the edge of your talent, you quit, right? That's really, really true. So I got some stats here, like 97% of people who ever start writing a book never finish. So that means they started writing, they are talented enough to have the ideas to start writing, believe that they could even do a book. And then there's a point where they just give up. And I'm writing a book right now, and I can tell you there's definitely points that you want to give up. Like the first time when you write a book, what you're doing is you're just basically doing a mental dump, especially if it's your first time. I would not do it the same way, but this is how it worked for me because I didn't know what I was doing, right? And we had a big knowledge gap, right? So here, hopefully this will help you with your knowledge gap. Name of the show. And I just dumped everything I've ever had that I thought would be cool to tell someone, or things that I would tell people as I was mentoring college students at Southwestern to go sell books door to door. And I just had all this stuff, and it was like 40,000 words on this Word doc. And then you're like, okay, well, how do I turn this into a book now?
Yeah.
You spend all that time.
You gotta chisel it away.
Yeah, and then you're like overwhelmed. This emotional feeling of just being like, oh my gosh, that's 40,000 words I have to read again. That's like insane, right? And you go through this moment of despair. You're like, I can't do it.
Yeah, it's intimidating.
Super intimidating.
It's a lot to take on. Your own mind, your own thoughts and stuff you put out there is just too much to handle.
And you hit this wall of your talent, and you don't know how to do this simple task of breaking down a book into something that flows, right? And so writing everything that you could think of writing really didn't take super long, but actually the editing process is taking a lot longer because you're trying to pick what's the best and what's the worst, and you're like trying to figure out, and you have all these questions and decisions you're making, and I definitely see why people quit, because it's like, it takes forever. It's taken 6 months. I think I started last year in March. Maybe, what is that, 9 months now? So people don't expect it to be that difficult, for example.